Gosh, it takes so long to get the hair right. Good morning. Welcome to the coffee run for this morning. It is Tuesday, I think. Yes, Tuesday. Some of you, this is like your first week back at work. Welcome back to your work week. Welcome to getting back and stuck into it. Welcome back to clients. Welcome back to content creation. Welcome back to hopefully having all of the fun and games that is involved with everything. Ainsley saw some photos. You're not long. It's not long until you go away, right? So I think it's the 27th that you head off. So welcome to this new year and new beginnings, and how freaking exciting, right? How freaking exciting. Now, something that, good morning, Catherine. I'm just sharing this video. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to multitask and it's just not working. Hey, Georgina. You know, I just end up feeling considerably distracted, which is a bit annoying. All right. Hope you're all fantastic and well. And now I'm feeling a little bit happier because we've got that done. All right. So one of the things that seems to come up regularly with clients, with people that I'm talking to before they become clients of mine is, you know, how to keep this stuff working, essentially. You know, how do you create the discipline? How do you, you know, what is it actually that you even do in order to build momentum, to build rapport, in order to connect with your audience, in order to remain consistent and everything else like that. And one of the big things to me that has been incredibly important is definitely boundaries, because without them, we tend to kind of like be bobbing around in an ocean without any sort of structure. And the other thing that's actually also really important is discipline, right? So it's all well and good to go and put these boundaries in place, either with people, with yourselves, with your work, with your time, with whatever. But if you don't have the discipline to keep them going, like to keep them in place essentially, then like you may as well not even do it. Now, I remember there was a lady who I learned from, her name's not coming to me, but there were 3 main types of boundaries. We've got soft boundaries, we've got kind of like squidgy, floppy boundaries, and then we've got, you know, firm boundaries. And depending on, you know, perhaps what's going on, or depending on maybe what your goals are, might depend on the type of boundary that you put in place for this kind of thing. Hey, Bonnie. Hey, Kelly. Good morning. So I'll give you a working example. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about this year is really ramping up my health. So I'm particularly disciplined once I make a decision, generally pretty disciplined around what I eat, and it doesn't bother me, right? Like I actually find this really easy because I don't really care about food. So, you know, I eat for fuel, you know, really, that's kind of what I do. So where the boundary comes in is like, well, actually, you know what? I really don't want KFC, even though everybody is eating it in the house, or I don't really want to eat those crackers, or I don't want to eat fried food, or, you know, whatever it happens to be. And so then it's about having the discipline essentially to uphold and maintain that boundary, because otherwise it tends to fall apart. So the other type of boundaries that you might like to consider, and this is probably the biggest one that tends to come up, is how you deal with people in your worlds, with how they interact with you. Now, we all know that it is our choice how we react or don't react to people, right? You know, it's completely our choice with how we do that. And it can feel when you're new, right? Or not even new, but when you're starting something new, you know, when you're learning a new exercise, when you're learning how to put yourself out there, where you're learning more about who you are, which really is what, you know, business is all about. It's, you know, in my view of the world, it's like you are your business, you are your marketing. So the way that you're going to be able to create and put out great, magnetic marketing that really, you know, has you feeling really freaking amazing. Good morning, Jody. Has you feeling really great means that you kind of need to put your heart out on the table, right? You got to wear your heart out on your sleeve some of the time, not all the time, but some of the time. And sometimes what can happen is that there's people in our world who are like, oh no, you can't do that. Or, you know, what did you say that for? Or why are you doing it like that? Or, you know, they try and give us feedback. And I talked about this last week. Or they might share their opinions around what you could do better or what you should be doing. Or, you know, that was shit or that was great or, you know, whatever. Good morning, Beck. Happy Tuesday. So I guess where I'm going with that is that we've got to have a boundary in place and a way, and then actually being disciplined to uphold that boundary. And this is really the biggest thing that I see, is that so many people get caught up in the helpful feedback that they get from people around them, right? So we want to put a boundary in place. Now, it's kind of interesting. You know, I've got a boundary whereby I don't generally talk about work outside of work, you know, unless I'm hanging out with you guys or something like that. You know, that's a little bit of a different story. But a case in point example of this, we're at my in-laws' house the other day, called in to do something. I can't remember what we called in for. We called in to do something. And my father-in-law said, oh, you know, how's work going? And I said, yeah, it's really great. And he's like, wow, like are people, you know, buying it at this time of year? And I said, yep. He's like, oh, that's really great. I said, yeah, like loads of people are just kind of ready to get back into it and some are not, and that's cool. You know, it's just kind of how it is. Let it go. You know, it was just my boundary is I don't really want to be having an in-depth conversation around all of that kind of stuff when I'm not in work mode. Now, we've just had a really annoying connection thing, so I'm really hoping that you guys are kicking back in at some point. Otherwise, this is very, very awkward. So the way that you can do this, and it is really about you, let me know that you guys that you've got me back and that you can hear me. If you would, please, that would be really, really great. You know, the boundary here is you get to control what comes out of your mouth, right? You get to control what comes out of your mouth. You don't have to be hoodwinked into a conversation that you don't want to have. You don't have to be hoodwinked into eating something that you don't want to eat. You don't have to be influenced into drinking something that you don't want to drink, or, you know, whatever that might be. The power completely lies with you. So you've got these different boundaries and different disciplines that we need to be able to put in place while you're growing. So if you imagine yourself, I was wondering when I was going to have an analogy. So, okay, so here we go. So if you imagine that you are like a tiny little piece of, like a baby spinach shoot, right? So I don't know if you guys have ever grown like herbs and stuff in your garden. So we're growing baby spinach and basil. I'll use basil actually. We use basil. It's like, it smells delicious, right? So these little baby basil shoots that grow up and push out of the earth are so tender, right? They are so thin, and just one little pull of a leaf has it kind of going like you pull out the whole plant, right? And, you know, roots and all. So when you're watering it and you're kind of nurturing it and you're kind of like looking after it, we need to shield it a little bit from the elements. So it's ridiculously hot here today. We've got a high temperature of 41, and it's just supposed to get hotter throughout the whole week. If you're in the States, I think it's like 110 or 112 or something ridiculous. And like you think about this little piece of basil that's growing, and you've got to nurture it from the elements. You've got to protect it from the elements. You've got to water it, you've got to feed it, you've got to care for it, and it starts to grow stronger. There's a basil plant that we've got out there now that's probably about that tall. At the top of it's kind of flowering and going to seed a little bit. But it's like I would have to kind of pull really hard to try and get that out, right? So where I'm going with this is like, if you're imagining that if you're like that little piece of baby spinach that's just growing, you're this little new shoot, you've got to protect yourself from the elements. And the elements are the feedback, the people that are like, oh, you're never going to make money that way. You're too wordy, you're not wordy enough. Why do you have to post so much? You know, I don't even like what you're putting out there. Why did you say that? I don't agree with that. You know, rah, 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 rah. We want to protect you from all of that type of thing. And the thing that protects you is the boundaries. So you might choose to not look at the comments that you put up. Hey, Carmen. You might choose to have someone, and I know some very, very well-known people that do this, have other people to screen your emails. I know a particularly well-known marketer in the States that used to get death threats through his email. They're like, I know where you live, I'm coming for your wife, I'm coming for you, flat out, like over the top threats. He's like, I can't deal with this anymore. So he had his PA screen all of his emails and only sent him the emails that he needed to see, needed to read, needed to pay any attention to, right? So it's this, not that he wasn't at that point in terms of business and marketing, he wasn't just this tiny little basil shoot, he was like a big freaking basil tree. But even so, if there are things that get to you, or if the things that get underneath your skin, we need to create the boundary to be able to just kind of put that in place and protect your gentle little shoot from all of that type of stuff. The other thing that I think is kind of interesting, and this sort of ties into this conversation, who was it? Somebody posted, Shirley commented on one of the photos earlier this morning about the photo that I put up earlier today was use your voice. Might have been yesterday, use your voice. And this again is a bit, to me, it's like a discipline activity. It's like we've got to put boundaries in place for you in order for you to really be able to share your voice. And she said in there that she's realized that she's this mix between kind of like kick-ass and big hugs. Now, it's really funny about that because I've been saying for years, and Carmen, you remember this from like even 2013 when we started working together. There are times where I'm like, bang, it's just flat out kick-ass, but it's kind of like punch, punch, hug, right? It's like bang, bang, reality, but you know what? It's okay. And I think the point here is that the boundary or the discipline that we want to be able to build for you is for you to feel okay and feel safe with you being able to share your voice without worrying about what people are going to say. So the boundary or the choice or the decision that we need to make is, I don't really even care what people are saying. I don't even know. It doesn't even matter. It's actually irrelevant. I'm just going to use my voice and share the message that needs to come out, and everything will be okay. And knowing that the people who love you will love you, and that the people who don't, they'll go find someone else to listen to, and that's completely fine. The conversation that I would be having with clients, if you feel like you're, sometimes you might feel like you're being taken advantage of. Perhaps you have a family member that is sharing unhelpful opinions. Maybe you have friends who you feel are just not at all supportive of what it is that you're doing and the vision that you have, and really what it is that you're wanting to do in the world. And it can be really freaking scary, right? It can be really scary. So the thing that you want to do, in my opinion, is have a conversation with them. To say, look, you know what? All I need to hear from you, and I actually had to have this conversation with my husband going back quite a few years ago now, because he was always, this is back in 2010, 2011, and the start of 2012, where my profile was building. I wasn't making any money. No, that's not true. I was making some money, but I wasn't making much money. I left my corporate job in February 2011, and I didn't really make any serious money so it was February 2011. I started kind of making little bits of money towards the end of that year, but it was April 2012 that everything kind of shifted and just finally started freaking working for me. It just took a really long time. And my husband used to say, babe, when are you going to start making money? When are you going to start making money? Maybe it's time for you to go and get a job. And I was like, fuck that. And the conversations that we would have were more me getting defensive, more me being angry because, I was angry at myself because things weren't working as fast as what I'd like. Things weren't working as fast as what I even promised him that they would. And so it kind of like was this little bundle of, ness. That's the official word. I don't know how you write that down. And essentially, I had to say to him, I had to get out of my own way and have a really vulnerable conversation with him. And I said, look, babe, I love you and I know you believe in me, right? And he's like, well, yeah. And I said, great. I said, I know that this is going to work. I actually know that this is going to work. I have absolute faith, and I don't know, I actually, just as an aside, and this is not what I said, I don't know where that faith came from, other than having complete faith in myself and my ability to create anything that I want, right? I had no idea really where that came from, but I said to him, look, I know this is going to work. I know it has to work, and it will work. I don't know how quickly, but I'm already scared. I am stressed. I am really fucking afraid that it won't work, but I will make it work. I am making it work, and I know you love me, right? He's like, yeah. I said, great. So when we have these conversations about it's not even a conversation, when you ask me, when are you going to start making money, Nicola? It actually stacks onto my stress. It stacks onto my anxiety. It stacks onto my worry. Now, guys, at this point in time, he was not home for 6 months of the year. Well, he was home for 6 months of the year, but he was he was out of the house from 6 a.m. He'd maybe get home at like 8, 9 o'clock at night and fall straight asleep because he's fucking exhausted. And that would happen throughout the whole entire grape season. So I was raising 3 kids on my own. I was building this business, and I was stressing my guts out, right? Absolutely stressing my guts out. And I didn't have capacity to work more. I would start work at 7 a.m. Then I'd run the kids and everything to school and daycare and whatever else. I'd come home, I'd work flat out, go and get the kids from school and daycare and blah, blah, blah. And I'd keep working. I'd then go and make dinner and throw the food down their throat. And then I'd come out of the office. Go back to the office after they're in bed, and I'd work till 1 o'clock in the morning. So freaking wired that I'd have to put the television on in the bedroom to go to sleep. It was the only way I could do it. So I wasn't getting to sleep until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't actually have physical or energetic capacity to give any more to this business than I was already giving. It was already wearing really thin. I'd been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, and it was just a freaking shitstorm, to be honest with you. So I said to him, look, I know you love me. We've got all of this in place, everything else. I said, look, all I need from you is for you to say to me 3 words, and that's it. And those words are, babe, it's actually 4 words, sorry. Babe, baby, you've got this. That's it. So when you're worried about money, I just want you to say, baby, you've got this. It's all good. You've got it. I know it's going to work. That's a lot more than 4 words. But essentially the main thing was, baby, you've got this. And because he didn't realize, and I think for him, he often needs to process what's going on in his head by getting the words out. And I just said, look, it's actually killing me. I can't deal with your stress and my stress. I can't do it. So I had to draw that boundary around that, and actually had to have the conversation with him around how to interact with me. With clients, so that's a boundary that we needed to put in place. With clients, if they are, being too needy or, whatever, if you've ever had people in your world before setting boundaries like that, let them know what the boundaries are. I don't work after 6. I don't work weekends. I'm not available on Fridays. You can contact me via email anytime you like, but there might be a 48 hours, between, there's a 48-hour service level with replying to emails. Just let them know what they can expect. And that's usually where boundaries or expectations kind of fall down, right? Because people don't know what they're working with. It's like children. If you don't let them know what's acceptable and what's not, they just freaking run rings around you. You get angry and frustrated. They don't know what they're doing wrong. You go and discipline them, and they've got no idea what the heck even happened. They're just sitting there with their heads spinning like that Death Becomes a movie, just blah, 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 blah. So it's really important for you to teach people how to interact with you. Teach people how to show respect. Teach people what it is that you need, and therefore what they can expect. Because when they know the boundaries and they know the expectations, that's really when everyone thrives. So there you go. That's apparently the words have stopped. That's really funny. So that's really what I had for you today. It's all about you being really clear on what's acceptable for you, how you want to be treated. And you know what, even if you've got friends in your world that you're like, you know what, I actually don't like the way that you say that, or it makes me feel a little bit, let them know. You know, the people in your worlds love you. The people in your world actually want to see you succeed most of the time. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you thrive. And so if we can let them know how they can help you in the best way, then, you know, it's just going to make your whole entire life, your business, your marketing, everything so much easier. So there you go. All right, everybody, have a really awesome and freaking amazing and fantastic Tuesday. If you need more help with this kind of thing, Rebel with a Cause starts on Monday. You can register now. Regos will be closing really soon, so make sure you get onto that. It's a 7-day deep dive immersion with me. Just 7 days of all of the awesome things. Online, of course, because I'm not going to roll up into your house because we've got the boundary there, right? Unless you're going to put on coffee, and maybe that could be arranged. All right, everybody, have a really beautiful and amazing day. Get out there, go help some people, get visible, and have a whole shit ton of fun doing it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.